Can't get any words. Podcast on blast, giving you the real talk, no holding back. Can't get any worse, we'll make you see. There's always a silver lining. We'll set you free, so join the movement. Let's change the game with the Can't Get Any Worse podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Can't Get Any Worse podcast. Happy Tuesday. What a fucking beautiful week it is. It's currently drizzling outside on this rainy, gloomy Monday. I was literally about to walk my dog. I was like, I'm going to tick off a few boxes before the podcast today. Put the old leash on the dog. Is that what it's called? Leash. Why does that sound so aggressive? Technically speaking, I think we have a harness for her. I think that's what Nikita calls it. But yeah, it just sounded like I beat my dog off the top of the podcast. So rest assured, she is perfectly looked after. To be honest, I have to take her to the vet this afternoon because, I don't know, she's got some sort of fucking ear infection or something. Who knows? And Nikita's like, can you do me the biggest favor in the world and take Bailey to the vet, knowing that if the vet goes, hey, it's going to cost you $30 for these eardrops, I'm going to go, not today, sweetheart, not today. This dog cost us $1 million a couple of months ago, so she's on her last legs. You know what? Now that I think about it, a leash was an accurate word. That is an accurate describing word for this money pit that we call Bailey. Anywho, back to where I was. I hope you're all having a good day. Let's take a sip straight off the top. I giggled as I was doing that because I was talking to Nikita this week about the podcast and the directions and things like that I want to take it in. And she's given me all this constructive criticism that she likes to give me. And to be fair, some of you guys might agree. But the one that made me laugh, hence the reason laughing, taking a sip of water, is she goes, I don't think you need to announce it to the audience every time you say you take a sip of water. And I was like, fair call. Hey, that is some constructive criticism. But I told her, I go, the reason I do that is because every now and then, some of these solo podcasts I listen to, like Bill Burr or Tim Dillon or someone like that, Chris D'Elia, sometimes there's like a period of time where they're super silent. Like maybe they've just said a joke and they're waiting for like us as the listener to react and things like that. But every now and then they pause for a long period of time. And I have to pull my phone out of my pocket and check that I like didn't accidentally pause it or something. And I never have. Like I've never accidentally paused it. They're just doing their dramatic pause for effect. But I like to look after you guys. I like to tell you guys, hey, for the next sort of 5 seconds or so, you can expect to listen to me guzzling down some water. Don't pull your phones out and go, oh, fuck. Has James stopped talking? Has my podcast broken? I'm simply just drinking some water. But if you guys agree with Nikita, shoot me a message and go, yeah, we're fucking sick of you telling us every time you're taking a sip of water. And I'm about to take another sip right now. That was just for that story. But I'm genuinely parched this morning, which that could mean that I'm talking too quickly. So I've just pulled myself up there. That's what I've done in live time right there. I'm gonna pull myself up and go, hey, dickhead, you're talking too fast. Slow down. Maybe if we rip into some topics, that'll slow me down. That'll steer me back on track. So here's a fun one to start on. Anyone that follows my personal social media page at Jimmy Misson, if you're not on there, chuck us a sneaky follow. The follows on both the Instagram and my personal page have been slowly creeping up the last month or so, which I appreciate. I don't know where that's come from. Still getting fuck all likes on anything, but hey, it is what it is. We're going to address some social media claims later on in the episode. We'll get to it. We will get to it. So buckle in. There's a big reveal coming live on air. You guys are going to love it. But yeah, I posted a story yesterday. We went to a park with some of Nikita's friends for the kids to catch up and just see each other before Christmas. Yada, yada, yada. You know the usual. I'm sure all you guys are going through this same thing right now. And the boys wanted to go for a walk to check out something over in the park. And as we're walking, we see this bloke dressed in like a professional Spiderman costume. And he was crouched down behind his car. He's doing all this like weird shit. Like I can't describe it any better than that. He was acting suspicious. And the kids are like, oh my God, there's Spider-Man. Let's go talk to him. I'm like, no, this dude looks smacked off his brain right now. I genuinely thought it was a coke addict. Not coke. What's an aggressive drug? What am I trying to think of? Like meth or some shit. Why did I just jump to coke? Anywho, I thought it was like a crack addict. Crack. That's what I was thinking of. Crack. Sorry, everyone. I apologize that I should have said crack, but I said cocaine. Technically speaking, they're the same drug anyway. One's just a little more broken down for street cred. You know what I mean? So there's a little lesson for you guys that may be listening. Anyway, the kids are wanting to go talk to him, and then there's a party way off in the distance, like 100 meters away, and we'll get to that. This mum comes over from the party, and she starts talking to Spider-Man. I'm like, okay, he's obviously there for the party, and they're teeing up his entrance and things like that. Now, for any parents listening, if you're going to get a character for your party, maybe you're going to get Spider-Man, maybe you might get Elsa if you've got a little girl, who knows? Try and set your party up as close to the car park as you can. Because one of the saddest things I've seen is a man dressed up as Spider-Man crouching down behind his Toyota Yaris, just waiting for the queue. And you just hear these kids from 100 meters away. You could barely hear them. They're like, I don't even know what they're yelling out. They're like, "Where are you, Spider-Man?" or something like that. They yelled it out 3 times, and this guy's just jumped out from behind the Yaris in a starfish formation, as if to say, "I have arrived." And then he's had to do the saddest 100-meter sprint I've ever seen in my life. It was terrible to watch. And I could only imagine, like, it was hot as fuck yesterday. I could only imagine by the time he reached the kids, he was just dripping in sweat. He's high-fiving them all. He's having the best time of his life. But I was just watching the whole thing, and I was like, I've never been so thankful in my life to bomb up on stage. Like I get the bomb out of the way and then it's done. I'm on to the next gig. This dude has to dress up in a hot, sweaty Spider-Man costume and just go interact with kids. But yeah, similar experience. Parker's daycare had their like end of year Christmas party, whatever it is. Again, parents will know what I mean. We rock up to the daycare and they've got another, like a children's entertainer. And she's like an elf from the North Pole or something. I think that was her act. And same deal, just watching her try to be as over the top and entertaining as she can for the kids, and just knowing deep down, like in her head, she's probably staring at every parent in the room that's just looking at her with their arms crossed, just straight-faced, going, "This is not funny. You're not entertaining." Sorry to that lady if you're listening, but I felt awful for her. When she looked my way, I gave her a few cheeky smirks. Maybe she thought I was flirtatious. She might have thought that I was a flirtatious daddy elf. Who knows? Daddy elf. That could be a good episode title. Who knows? But yeah, while we were at the kindy, this blew my mind, and I forgot this was even a thing until I witnessed my 4-year-old child do it. Now he's running around being crazy out in the backyard of the daycare center, and he goes, "Oh, Dad, I'm thirsty." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, let's go get a drink from the bubbler." I go, "Show me where the bubblers are." And he takes me over there. Doesn't take me to Todd Carney's house, surprisingly. That's a little dig at ex-NRL footy star that secretly, not even secretly, I'm a fucking huge fan of him. I did some cabinetry for him back in the day, so shout out to Toddy Carney if you're listening. Left me on scene when I was like, "Hey, bud, want to come on this stupid little podcast I'm starting?" So who's winning now, Todd? Who's winning now while you're in your mansion with this big Fox League deal or whatever you signed the other week, and I'm here telling people about a sad Spider-Man at a park? I don't know. A lot of people would say that I'm winning, Todd. A lot of people would say I'm winning. But Parker takes me over to these bubblers, and I'm an adult. Very rarely do I drink from a water bubbler. I have to be dying of thirst, and there's no shops in walking distance for me to buy something from. Now, I will not drink out of a park bubbler. I will not drink out of any public bubblers, if that makes sense. Like if we're at the kids' school or something and I have to drink out of a bubbler, sure, I'll lean down and take a sip. But after this experience, I will no longer be doing that because my 4-year-old son walks up to the bubbler. Now, do you guys remember like school bubblers? You've got the handle, then you've got the spout that shoots back to the wall, and then you've got the part that loops up. Now, you've got the squirty part where the water bubbles out of, right? And then there's like that shield protector that sort of coves over that. That is to prevent kids from like putting their lips directly on the bubbler part, right? Now, my 4-year-old son presses his face as hard as he can against that like protective section and then projects his lips through the opening and just fucking makes contact with the bubbling section. I'm like, that is disgusting. And then I'm like, P, don't do that. And he's like, what? I'm just drinking water, like looking up at me while he's just absorbing all the germs that have ever been invented. Then I proceed to watch like 10 other kids do the exact same thing. I'm like, this is fucking so gross. But yeah, I don't know if you guys remember that, if that's ringing any bells, but dead set I used to do that back in the day. I used to be the most feral cunt for sure. That doesn't really fucking tie on, but let's keep going. It just slipped out then. So in the new year, get this right, I'm going to try this, and it's not going to be an all the time thing. So for those of you that like it when I do it, buckle in. I'm still going to do it. I'm not going to be able to stop doing it. But in the new year, he's going to do it. He's going to go out there and do something crazy. He's going to try and cut back on his swearing by maybe 20 to 30%. Can he do it? I honestly don't know if I can. But yeah, as of the 1st of January, I've thought of this idea. I don't know if it's going to help or not, but I'm going to print out a sign that is directly behind the camera, and it's just going to say, like, don't swear or no swearing, fuckhead. I don't know. Something as just like a visual trigger to me, because like I can easily do it. Like that episode I did with the Red Wiggle, I didn't swear once. And I think it's easier not to swear when there's guests in the room. But when you're here by yourself and you use fuck as a full stop, it's a little bit tricky. But anyway, that's a little bit behind the scenes of what's going on in the podcast in the new year. But the thing I read before, we went around the other night looking at Christmas lights. And there's a huge one near our house, right? And they go all out every year. It's one of the most incredible things you'll ever see. They stopped entering like the 4KQ Christmas light competition or whatever because they got sick of winning. Like, what the fuck? Imagine if John Jones just fought for fun and like Dana came in the octagon at the end. He's like, here's your championship belt. And John Jones just goes, I don't want that. I'm sick of winning. I just do this for the passion. Anyway, they're basically the John Jones of Christmas lights. And we go there the other night. We're checking it out. It's relatively quiet, which is good. Now, as you go up their driveway and loop around the hill and all this it's hard to explain, but in their garage, they've got set up like a Santa sleigh and this scene sort of thing that you can sit in the sleigh with your family, take a couple of photos. It's all fun. Now, there's an Islander family in front of us, and not that matters or anything, but I just thought it was funny because like you look at big Islanders and you're like, fuck, that is a tough bloke. Now, this guy gets his wife and kids in the sleigh. He's taking all these fun photos of them. He's making them laugh and shit. And the dude that runs the Christmas display, he goes, oh, you jump in the sleigh. I'll take a couple of photos of you. Now this bloke, genuinely nice bloke. Like he does this every year for the kids. The dude is probably pushing 80 at this stage. Now you drive past while he's setting it up. He's out in the front yard. He's up on the roof. He's running all these lights himself. Okay, so he's an asset to the community. He's a real treasure. But the bloke's terrible with an iPhone. He starts trying to take a photo, and this family's just sitting in the sleigh. They're trying to do their best smile, and this big Islander bloke, he's starting to get as awkward as I do when I get photos taken, and he's just started to squirm in the seat, and he's going to get up, and the old bloke's just going, no, hang on, I'll get a few more, and he's shuffled to the left a little bit, and he started to take some more photos that way, and then the bloke goes to get up again. He goes, no, I've got to take a side view. I've got to take a side view of you and your family. Now he's got to get back in the sleigh, put the fake smile back on. Not even joking. To get 3 photos, it would have taken a minute. Now, that probably doesn't sound like long, but pause this podcast, sit there in your car or in your workplace, wherever you're listening to this, and put a fake smile on your face for 1 minute and pretend you're getting photos for that long. That's a hard thing to do. Now, I'm laughing behind the old bloke, and the Islander guy can see me laughing as well. And I think that's the only way he could keep the smile on his face, is like our little bit of laughing at each other as how awkward the situation was. Now, this family's finished in their thing. They fuck off, and then it's our turn, and we have to go through the exact same thing. It was the most terrible experience of my life, just sitting there with a fake smile. My mate, I thought we were in this together, me and my Islander friend. He's fucked off. He's gone home now. I'm sitting there by myself. I'm looking at like the ceiling and stuff, trying to make myself laugh. There was nothing funny about the situation. But the thing I wrote down about this is they've covered their whole front yard in this fake foamy snow stuff. And they were telling us, they're like, we've got to buy new foam every year because obviously it gets all like moldy and disgusting underneath there, which makes complete sense. And Parker, as we're walking down the driveway, he just starts like whacking it, and he's like grabbing fistfuls of it and shit. And I'm like, P, stop that. And he goes, oh, I just like the way it feels. I go, no, you can't touch anything. Now, this is how autistic Nikita and I are, right? I've just told off my 4-year-old son. I go, no, don't touch it. You're not allowed to touch it. It's not ours. You'll wreck it. Now, he's gone, oh, but it feels amazing. Nikita and I have looked at each other with our autistic love eyes to each other, and we've gone, well, autistic people like to touch amazing things. So we've both walked over to the fake snow, and we've started grabbing it and shit. And at this stage, anyone watching, we're just a 4-year-old, like a 4-pack of a family, just grabbing fake snow on a Friday night, just like a bunch of autistic people just loving life. But yeah, it's hard to tell off your son when you like doing the same stuff. But what else we got here? Nikita didn't want me to tell this one on the story, and I'm of two minds because I found it hilarious. Where are we at? We're at 16 minutes. Fuck it, I'm going to tell it. Nobody told Nikita, all right? She won't listen to this because she's criticizing the podcast too much. She probably got angry that I just took a drink break. I actually didn't tell you guys about it. So, hey, I'm living and I'm learning. One sec. Yeah, no, sweet. Just had to check something real quick, and it's coming up. Stay tuned. We were chilling on the couch the other day. Westy did something gross. I don't even remember what it was, but I think he typical boy shit. I think he picked his nose and wiped it on me or something disgusting. And I've snapped. I've gone, dude, that's fucking foul. And then he goes, what's foul? And I'm like, oh, it's just when something's... No, I didn't even get to answer. That's right. I didn't even get to answer. Westy goes, what's foul? And Nikita so confidently, quickly jumps in front of me and she goes, it's a baby horse. And I've looked at her and she's gone, what? And I go, a fowl is not a baby horse. I go, fowl is like disgusting, or a fowl is like a type of bird. And she's like, oh shit, what's a baby horse? I'm like, a foal. And she's like, okay, never tell anyone about this. Don't tell anyone that I just said that. But now all you guys have heard that, and hopefully you guys are laughing in your car as to how silly Nikita's thing is. This just popped in my head as well, and I didn't even write this down. I completely forgot about it until just now. We're cruising home from the park yesterday in the car, and I think someone cut me off or something. Yeah, something happened in traffic, and I've gone, oh my God, like out loud. And Parker has gone, what's God? And Westy's gone... Now, Westy goes to a private school, so they learn about God and shit like that. Westy goes, oh, he's a guy, and he's dead. And I'm like, I've looked at Nikita, and we've both gone, oh, okay. Anything else you want to tell us about God? And he's like, no, he's just a guy. He's dead. He used to heal people or something. And I'm like, this cannot be your concept of God. Like, we don't send you that. Like, we don't send him to that school for the religious aspect. But like, I went to private schools like my whole life from grade 3. So it's like drummed into you. You learn that shit. And in his head, he goes, oh, he's a dead guy. He heals people sometimes. And I go, anything else? He goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure he loves Easter. And I'm like, okay, perfect. It's good to see that you're learning. This is why you get C's on your report card, because you give answers like that. But yeah, all right. I've got a couple more stories, then the big reveal, and then we'll get into weekend comedy and shit like that. So I got caught doing possibly the gayest thing I've ever done on Friday night or Saturday night. One of the weekend nights where you should be out doing cool stuff. Now, when I say I got caught doing gay shit, I was not kissing dudes or anything like that. No. I was at my local coffee, what is it? Like cafe. I was at a local cafe on a Friday night at about 8:30, writing jokes, and I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, I get oh, hey man, how are you? And I look up, and it's my brother-in-law. Now, to describe my brother-in-law, he's from Papua New Guinea, sort of bigger bloke, and I look beside him, and he's with his cousin, who is a rapper. Now, this bloke's pretty cool. He's always like dripped out in shit from like Culture Kings and all that. He's like, hey man, how are you? And I'm like, I'm cool. I'm good, thanks. And I'm trying to play it cool. They're like, what are you here doing? And they've looked at my laptop, and I'm like, just trying to write some jokes. And I could see in their eyes, they just looked at me like, this is the gayest thing you could possibly doing. Just a man in his 30s sitting at a local cafe on a Saturday night, just writing gay poetry. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing as shit. So they basically were like, okay, we're going to go do cooler shit right now. So have fun writing your lame little poems. So yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. I was pretty embarrassed. Not quite as cool as rapping or anything like that, but hey, whatever doesn't pay the bills, you know what I mean? Yeah, who knows? I'll probably get $1,000 for that joke coming up. Who knows? I don't know. Someone might buy it. It was literally a gay joke as well. Let's insert my premature premise right now, just because I chuckled a bit when I wrote it. Now, I don't even know how this came to me, all right? But I just started it out. This isn't the whole joke, but this is the premise. I was like, oh, cum swapping porn intrigues me. Like just the two chicks just dribbling the cum into each other's mouths like little cum birds. And I'm like, it's crazy how much they love it, right? Like it's crazy. They'll drip a little bit on each other's faces. They'll lick it right up. They'll be like, oh, can't spill a drop. Now, I started to question myself if I love anything that much. Like, I'm quite fond of chocolate mousse, right? But if I was sitting across from my best mate and he's eating a tub of chocolate mousse and he accidentally got a little bit of chocolate mousse in his mustache, I would start to question how much I actually love chocolate mousse. You know what I mean? Like, I would not lean over to, let's say, Adrian and start tonguing chocolate mousse off his upper lip. Not a chance in hell. So, I don't know. I don't know where that's going just yet, but that's basically the premise. What I've written, I laughed pretty hard at myself. So, come to a show and check that one out. What else? Oh, this was an embarrassing one. So, for my day job, I have to go measure like cabinetry and shit like that. Now, I had to go to a pretty high up private school in the Brisbane area last week, and I meet the bloke. He's like, we do the introductions. It's all fun. Now, he takes me down to the building where we're doing all the cabinetry in. Because it's school holidays, it's skeleton staff, no kids in the area, all that sort of shit. He takes me into the building. He switches the lights on, and he goes, I've got some other stuff I've got to go do. Can I leave you here on your own? And just let yourself out. Just pull the door shut as you go. It'll lock, and then you can leave. And I'm like, okay, sweet. No worries. Now I start measuring all this stuff for maybe 15, 20 minutes at this stage. When I first got to the building, I'm like, God, I've got to piss. And I've gone, I'll just pull into a servo on the way back to work or something. You know what I mean? I'm not going to piss in a school, risk getting caught, go to jail, something like that. And by the time I'd finished measuring, I'm like, I cannot hold this to get to a servo. I've got to go to the toilet. I look on the other side of the room and I see a toilet sign, says staff only. I'm like, no one's going to be angry. But in the back of my head, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is come out of this toilet and like someone's in the room. You guys guessed it. Ding, 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 ding. Tick it off your bingo card. Nobody has been in the room the entire time I've been doing this. I finally go to the toilet for my piss. I'm in there for a maximum of 2 minutes. You know what I mean? In and out. Just did my business. Come out of the room. As I open the door, there's just a bloke standing there in the middle of the room. He's like, can I help you? And I'm like, oh my fucking God. why does this happen to me? Why do I get myself in these predicaments? And I had to be like, oh, sorry, mate, just measuring some cabinets. I just had to quickly use the toilet. I hope that's okay. And the look he gave me, the look of disgust was like, why would you get your dick out in a place where children attend, you disgusting pig? Get out of our school. And you know what? We'll go to IKEA for our cabinets. He didn't say that, but that's the look he was giving me. But yeah, just busted into school with my dick out. Not exactly the best way to kick off your week. Anywho. Now, I just took a sip of water. I've got to dry my hands for this. So, how do I even start this off? How do we start this off? Now, there's a bloke behind me here, right? Mr. Bill Cosby. Now, I am not a supporter of Bill Cosby. Let's start this off just by saying that. That album right there was gifted to me on episode 22. Back when Ash was on the podcast, he was cleaning out his house. He found that up in his ceiling and he's like, this would be a funny little prop for the podcast. Now, I do not support Bill Cosby. I've never actually been a fan of Bill Cosby. But obviously a lot of people in the comedy scene and things like that, they have a bit of fun with Bill Cosby. There's so many comedians out there doing jokes and stuff. And I was like, that would be funny just to have in the background of the podcast. But obviously you guys understand that. It was gifted to me. Everything in the studio was gifted to me at some stage throughout the podcast. And I like to display it and things like that. Now, not all the time, but at least once every couple of months you get comments that are like, oh, Bill Cosby supporter. Oh, what the fuck? Why is there a Bill Cosby album in the background? Bill Cosby album? That's a bit sus. It just rears its head. Now, for whatever reason, last week's reel or short, whatever you want to call it, went semi-viral, like pretty viral for us. We are a small-time podcast. If we normally get 200 views or so, I'm stoked. Now, for whatever reason, last week's reel gathered a bit of traction. We got like 5,000 views on TikTok or something, but YouTube's where it really ramped up. We got about, I don't know, I think it was like 16,000 views or something and like 30 comments before I started the podcast. I'm like, what is going on? And it's funny. It's like, it's always the reels that I don't think are going to do well. They always are the ones that just somehow find the way into the algorithm. Sorry. Anyway, this week I probably got 4 or 5 comments about that, and even someone in the scene messaged me and be like, what the fuck's with the Bill Cosby thing in the background? Now, I've decided, I put it to you guys a couple of months ago. I go, should we remove the Bill Cosby album? A couple of people were like, yeah, just do it, just to shut the haters up. And a lot of people were like, no, stand your ground. We see the funny side of it. We listen to the podcast. The only people that are saying that shit are people that don't actually listen to the podcast and are just taking it out of context. You know what I mean? They got nothing better to do. So this week I've decided it's time to part ways with Bill Cosby. I think it's time for Bill to go. I know it's a sad moment for the podcast. I wanted to play Good Riddance by Green Day while I was doing this. Unfortunately, it's copyrighted on YouTube. You're not allowed to play it. So I'm just going to reach back here. I'm going to get Bill off the shelf. Sorry, Bill. It's time for you to go into retirement. But we need to replace it with something else. I don't know what to replace it with. So I've decided on today's episode, we're going to do a little bit of Can't Get Any Worse crafts. So I'm going to, maybe I'll hum the tune of Good Riddance by Green Day while I do this. And you guys sit along. You guys listen to my beautiful tone while I reach over and get this. Sorry for the awkward silence. So let's get started. What are we going to do here? So I'm sorry, Bill. I don't want to be doing this. The internet has made me do it, and I fucking hate it. Alrighty, we're finished. So I hope this clears things up on the internet of my real thoughts and my true feelings about Bill Cosby. So this is now how the album will look up on the shelf. Now, for audio listeners, he's got a cute little mustache. I can't sort of relate that to anyone that might have had that mustache and that hairstyle back in the day and throughout history. And I've changed his name to Kill Cosby instead of Bill Cosby. So I found that to be quite clever. I hope that this is sort of clear enough for you guys on the internet. But yeah, we'll take a quick snap for the thumbnail this week. So Bill Kill. On the count of three, say cheers. 1, 2, 3. Cheers. So thanks, Bill. Thanks for that. So let's pop him back up there. And unfortunately on this episode, we've had to kill Bill. So how's that look, guys? Does that look right? Does that look a bit better? Is that going to shut up all the haters on the internet and be like, he's a Bill Cosby supporter? I don't know. You can't win with these guys. You know what I mean? So that's some refreshing water. So shout out to Kill Cosby. How's it look up there? I wish I was facing the direction you guys are facing just so I could see it. But yeah, it blows my mind how people just go out of their way and say shit like that on comments. Like, I don't think I've ever posted something negative on something I've seen on the internet. Like, I've never gone out of my way. Literally last week, and like, I'm not going to name or shame or like say who did it or anything, but it baffles me, like completely blows my mind how some people get away with what they get away with. And then I just get flagged and shit for that. Like, there is let's call it an up and coming podcast in Australia at the moment, right? Now they've gaining a fair bit of traction online and throughout other podcasts and things like that. Last week I tuned in to see what the hype was about. And it's just another two Aussie blokes that sit there, they laugh, they get a couple of calls in, things like that, and talk a bit about sport, talk about shit in your pants, all the usual, you know? Like, nothing really jumped out. It's like, okay, they're the next chosen ones, so to speak. And I've tuned in, I'm listening. 6 minutes into the episode, one of them legitimately says the N-word. Like, these are two white blokes. One of them says the N-word. Doesn't even go out of his way to say that. Like, couple of N-words. He literally hard R's it. And I fucking paused my podcast. I had to go show Adrian and stuff straight away. I'm like, how the fuck do they get away with this? Now, part of me would want to hope that if my co-host said that, I'd pull him up. I'd go, oh, fucking, we can't say that shit or something like that, you know? But they both laugh at it together and they go, oh, the Patreon's going to love that one. They're making money out of saying the N-word. And I'm getting flagged for fucking having a Bill Cosby album in the background. It doesn't make sense to me. But, yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm not going to name and shame. A couple of people might have listened to that podcast and, I don't know, they might have found it funny somehow. I don't know. Anywho, that might be the other thing. Maybe being in the comedy scene, I've become a little bit more precious to, like, words like that and stuff. Just knowing that, not even that, actually. I've always known you don't say that word. Anyway, who fucking cares? This moment is a tribute to that man behind me. So thank you for coming along. When did I say that came in? Episode 22. So this will be episode 25. So he's been here for 103 episodes. That's pretty crazy. So thanks for everything you've done, buddy. Thanks for the traction you get me online and on to bigger and better things. So hats off to Kill Cosby. Let's rip into my week in comedy. So it worked last week, guys. I'm glad to tell you guys the manifesting for Newmarket seemed to work. I got to the gig. Relatively quiet night for what that gig normally is. Like, there was maybe 15, 20 people there if I had to throw a dart. And I was second after the break, which, I don't know. I like going early these days. Get in, get out, and get home. But I was second after the break. I'm like, all right, let's buckle in. And the first half was pretty tragic. Like, we were sitting at a table outside the room, and we're like, there were a couple of moments where we were like, oh, I'm going to go check out the room, because normally you can hear laughs, and we're like, we can't hear any laughs. So we're checking it out. I don't know why. There just seemed to be no energy in the room. The crowd didn't seem up for it. It was just going to be one of those nights. And throughout the first half, a few more people were funneling in. And by the time I got up, there was maybe maybe 30 people in the room, which is, it's decent. It's doable. And I got up there and fucking, I don't know what happened. They were just along for the ride. Now, this is the stressful part. I was watching the first half not go well, and I was like, oh shit, my 5-minute spot's probably going to be more like 4 minutes if there's no laughter. So I'll cram another joke in there. So I knew if there was pretty well no laughter, I would stretch to the 5 minutes. Now, the first 2 jokes have hit pretty hard, and I've gone, oh my God, I need to do all these jokes now for this set to make sense. So I've just started like speeding through this set. I'm stomping on laughs. I'm like, yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was almost like, in the moment, it felt like a rolling laughter through my whole set, which was pretty sick. So we did it, guys. We manifested it together. I actually had a sick gig at Newmarket. Now, the other gig this week, Distillery Road, last night. So, last one for the year. Now, December and January gigs can go one of 2 ways. They can be huge with everyone wanting to come out and celebrate the holidays, things like that, or they can be pretty quiet due to the fact that people have gone away on holidays and they're all doing their own thing. Now, last night was a prime example. I've rocked up and I've gone, fuck, there was like almost no one there, and I started shitting myself. And I said to the manager, I go, how many people have reserved tickets? He goes, oh, it's pretty light this month, only sort of 70, 76 or something, I think he said, which that's pretty much the number we've been getting at our other gigs with almost 200 people reserving seats. So I'm like, fuck, working off those statistics, it's going to be a quiet night, like just 3 people up the front of this gigantic room. So I was getting pretty scared. And by the time we kicked off, I think there was maybe 40 people in the room, which, again, in a room that big is not ideal. So I've got fully in my head, I'm like, this is going to suck, blah, blah, blah. And I was emceeing again. Sorry about that. Need a cough button. And I got up there, and I don't know why, but the crowd was up for it. And funny little moment, most of the crowd was sitting to the back of the room, which was just not going to work. So I've jumped on the mic 5 minutes before showtime. I go, can anyone move up the front? It's going to make the show 1,000 times better. Just, we won't pick on you. We just need you at the front so we can hear laughter. We can talk to you if we need to talk to you, things like that. And to start with, no one really moved, but these 2 little kids, they would have been 8 or 9 if I had to throw a number. Straight away, they've jumped out of their seats. They've started screaming and running forward. And they sit right in the front, right in front of the stage. And I've gone, oh, thanks, boys. I'll buy you a Coke after the show or something. Now, if these kids weren't there, it could have been a tragic show. But, like, as I was emceeing, I was playing into them. I reckon the 10 minutes I had organised at the start of the show, I maybe did 5 minutes of material, and the rest of it was pretty much just talking to these kids or talking to a couple other people in the crowd. It was pretty sick. I was pretty happy with the way I emceed last night. It was probably the most loose and free-flowing I'd been emceeing. And we'll stick on this story. So we pushed through the entire show. So there was me emceeing, 3 support acts, and then a headliner. So all up, I think it went for about an hour and a half or so. Now, these kids have been front and center the whole time. They're paying attention. They're answering the comedians' questions. They're throwing out, like, shit. It was great. Now, we get to the end of the show. I say goodnight, thank you, blah, blah, blah. I start to pack up my gear. These 2 kids run over. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Like, hey, boys, what's up? And they're like, where's our Coke? And I've gone, oh, you're fucking joking. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you said if we move forward, you'll buy us a can of Coke. And I've gone, oh, fuck me. So I pulled my wallet out, and I had a $5 note in there. So I go, all right, well, $5 get you both Cokes. They're like, I don't know, you go buy it for us. And I'm like, fuck. So I had to walk these kids over. I go, oh, just 2 Cokes, please. And as we're walking over there, I go, okay, so you just want 2 Cokes? And let me remind you, this kid's like 9. He goes, yeah, not the powdered kind. I'm like, what? Who are you? So we get there. I go, 2 Cokes, thanks. He goes, we've only got Pepsi. So I look down at my now bosses. I go, is Pepsi okay with you guys? And they've gone, suppose it'll have to do. I've gone, fuck me, right? You're getting a free Coke for moving to a front seat. So I bought them their Pepsis. I'm like, move along. But yeah, they ended up getting photos with the headliner. The headliner got one of them up on stage to tell a couple of jokes, which so good. And the headliner said the same thing. Like, he said to me, he's like, I rocked up here, and I was like, oh, to be honest, I was not looking forward to it. He goes, I thought this was going to be a train wreck, but one of the funnest gigs I've done all year. I was like, thank you. Like, literally every headliner has said that. And he goes, I had 20 minutes of material organized, and I did not do any of it. He's like, it was just so fun to fuck around with the crowd. He's like, a lot of my bits were stuff that I was starting to work out and stuff, and it just seemed to work with the flow. I'm like, you do whatever you want to do. Like, the crowd loved it. The venue was over the moon. They were fucking stoked. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool. This is probably the coolest thing from the whole show, but yesterday afternoon, both my boys were like, oh, we want to come to the show. And we're like, oh, it's going to be way too much. Anyway, between Nikita and Mum, they're like, no, we'll make it work. So, so Nikita, Mum, Adrian, Matt, and both my kids came to watch me do comedy for the first time, which it was pretty fucking sick just to be telling jokes and looking down there and like watching them both watch me and like smiling and shit. Like, they probably didn't have any idea what I was talking about up there. Hopefully not, because I was bagging their mum pretty hard. But it was pretty cool. And like, Westy's the worst at jumping around and like just being fidgety and stuff. And even Nikita called me while I was driving home. She's like, I was so blown away by Westy. Like, he was just sitting there, eyes on the stage the whole time, just mesmerized. So I was like, that's pretty cool to hear. So one of the support acts got this cool little photo of me and Parker. I'll probably post that later today or tomorrow or something, just like a pretty special moment without getting all homo about it. So, couple more people that hopefully can come watch me do comedy, and then I've ticked off everyone. Hopefully, how about this? Ash messages me. He goes, "Oh, I'm stuck on the gateway." Part of me was like, he's just taking the piss, but then in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, is he going to come? No, he's a fucking dog. So that's what you get for being a dog, what I did to your album. So fuck you, Ash. Let's get on to a couple of things I got organised for the rest of the episode. We're running close to time, so I got a couple of funny videos. I just thought these were funny as fuck, so I thought you guys would find them funny as well. This one's a bit of one of those funny motivation ones I got again, so let me drag it over. Where's my mouse? Actually, this could be the other one, so let's do a quick play and pause. Nah, this is the motivation one. Ready?
All right, Margaret.
Nah, that's not it. I fucked it. Let's do this one first then. So for any parents out there doing Elf on a Shelf at the moment, you guys will find this pretty funny. So...
All right, Margaret. I took one for the team last year. Now it's your time to shelf the elf.
What? Don't you mean put the elf on the shelf?
Oh, God, what have I been doing?
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
So I found that pretty funny. I don't know if you guys will find that funny, but fuck me, Elf on a Shelf is such a hassle. If any parents are in the what's the word I'm looking for? In the trenches with Elf on a Shelf at the moment, I feel for you. We're all going through it together. This is the motivational one I found hilarious, so stay tuned for this one. Ready?
You had $20,000, what would you spend it on?
I could probably maybe buy a Lamborghini.
Yeah, you probably maybe fucking couldn't do that. Do you know how much fucking Lamborghinis are? They're like $200 fucking $1,000 minimum. That's like the cheapest one you can fucking...
I found that pretty funny. Like, let the kids have their shine, you know what I mean? Just crushing their dreams. Now, this is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to this one. End of the episode every week, I jump on here. I go, send any submissions through, blah, blah, blah. This week, we fucking got one. We got one this morning, just before I started recording. Luckily, it's about the next thing I want to talk about. So let's play the submission. Where is it? Hopefully this works, because this is the first time we've had a submission. So I'm going to hit play now, see if it comes across.
James Donatello Misson. Well, at least I think that is your last name. Hey, mate, what's going on? Hope you are well. I just want to send a submission or a talking point through. You put on your Instagram the Can't Get Any Worse podcast Instagram a day or two ago about Netflix specials, and I think you put up Jamie Foxx having a Netflix special and saying how terrible it was and you couldn't stand watching it. I wanted to get your opinion with Netflix making all these comedy specials. Like, do you think it's getting a bit too much? Like every Tom, Dick and Harry is getting their own comedy special, or do you think it should be like how Comedy Central did the Comedy Central roast, like how it was like one every 6 months or one every year or something like that? Yeah, it just seems to be getting a bit too much. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, and even the comedy roast. Do you think Netflix should maybe dabble into more comedy roast rather than Netflix specials? But yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on that, mate. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year to you, Nikita, and the kids, from my family to yours, mate. Merry Christmas. Hope all is going swell in your neck of the woods, and 2024 has been great for your podcast, and has been for mine too. Having you on as my third episode was truly great, and I'm truly thankful for you coming on. So here's to bigger and better 2025. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, legend. So that was Ty. Ty from the Roads We've Walked podcast. Go listen to that. Like you said, I was on episode 3. So yeah, another local legend, giving it a crack. Might even reshare that episode on my stories at some stage this week. But let's dig into it. So yes, the Jamie Foxx special that came out on Netflix. I was keen as fuck for this special, you know what I mean? I heard a heap of people, some rumors about some P. Diddy allegations, things like that coming out on the special. And yeah, fuck, I put it on. I could not get past 20 minutes. It was horrendous. It was not a comedy special. It was him just talking to the crowd. It was a lot like the Ellen special. Like it was, I think they call it clapter, where there's no real laughter. Instead of laughs, they get like these applause breaks. And I felt a couple of times he almost went for a joke and it didn't quite land. So then he would revert back to him having his stroke and things like that. And then the crowd would just get back on his side. They'd start like cheering and clapping and shit. And then you'd have him back, and then you'd just try a joke again, lose him again. And he'd just revert back to like, oh, give it up for my daughter, or just playing to the audience. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it got any better after that. I haven't really wanted to go back and see how it goes. It was easily the worst thing I've seen this year, hands down. And to answer Ty's question, yes, I think they need to cut down on the specials. I think a big thing I've seen the last couple of months is Netflix seems to have lost they seem to have bragging rights for the last few years. And if you've followed comedy, you'll notice this. Every network has their shine. Like you mentioned Comedy Central there as well. When I was younger, like coming up, like growing up, I suppose, not coming up, Comedy Central was everything. That's where you wanted to be. That's where all the comedy shows and specials were that you wanted to see. And then Netflix basically got a couple of big names on board. Like I know Tom Segura was one of their first big ones, Bill Burr, people like that making the jump over. And then that just launched Netflix into what they are now. Like everyone has got a Netflix special. And do I think everyone should have one? No, not a chance in hell. I thought it was pretty cool back in the day when HBO used to do it. And there was maybe, I think they used to do like 3 or 4 specials a year. Like that was it. If you got a HBO comedy special, that was it. You've made it. Like that would be your selling point. You'd go on all the talk shows, be like, I've got a HBO special. Then Comedy Central took over. Then a few more people were starting to get it. Like they maybe did like 10 specials a year. And now Netflix is almost releasing a special every couple of weeks. And it's too much. It takes the word special out of it. Now, I've heard a couple of comedians, the bigger guys, say that they pretty much just record this now as advertising for their tours. Like, they've more or less said they don't care. Like, they don't care about the special. They just do it as advertising so people buy tickets to their tours, and then that's where they make all their money on tour. Now, I know there's still a few purists and things like that out there. Like, I know Chris DiStefano, he releases a 20-minute stand-up, if you want to call it a special, whatever, on his YouTube for free every Sunday. Like, every Sunday, he's got a 20-minute set out, which, break that down over a year. That is insane. Like, how many hours is that? Go 52 by 20 minutes. I'm not good at maths. You guys do the maths. But, yes, I do think there's too much comedy out there now. It takes the shine off that word special. Comedy roasts, I love it. I said on the podcast a few times, I used to love the Comedy Central roasts. I used to live for it. Netflix smashed it out of the park with the Tom Brady roast. I think with a bit of trimming and playing with, the next one they do will be gigantic. And again, I've heard all the big comedians and stuff say that they're putting their hands up for the next Netflix roast. Who knows who it might be. I heard a heap of people throwing Trump around to get another roast on Trump now that he's sort of this next level of his career, because I know he had the Comedy Central one. But now that he's president again, I don't see that happening. I would be very surprised if the president of the United States was like, all right, let's do a fucking Netflix roast. But yeah, hopefully that answered your questions in a roundabout way. I know I went off on a couple of tangents there, but yeah, let me know if you guys watched the Jamie Foxx special and what you guys thought, but I just could not do it. I think the specials just need to be left to the big guys. Like, and yeah, I suppose every now and then you need to let a new up-and-comer through and give them a special so that they can, like, it's their launching pad sort of thing. But even, like I said, I think Netflix might be at their peak and now on the decline, because I know Bill Burr, Joe Coy, who else? There was another big name. A couple of big names have now signed for their next specials to come out on Hulu. So yeah, Hulu might be the next one. Like, in 5 years, I might be like, fuck, I want a Hulu special instead of a Netflix special. But I don't know. I don't know where it's all going, but too much out there. Let's rip in a couple of things to touch on for nothing major on the UFC. There was a card yesterday, Colby Covington versus Buckley. So Buckley got the win there. Thank God. I saw a weird statistic yesterday where, Ty, I forgot the most crucial part of that. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and your family as well. Thank you for sending the submission through. I got lost in my brain at the end there. I thought I was ranting too much about that shit. So thank you for your submission again. And we'll see you in the new year. He put his name up I put a little thing up on Instagram the other week to, like, who you guys want to see on the podcast and stuff. So I think we're going to get him on in the new year, have a chat in this studio. But yeah, I reckon we could have a good yarn to him in the new year. Anyway, back onto the UFC. Buckley got the win over Covington. Covington, I saw this weird stat. I forget if it was top 10 or top 15, but he hasn't beaten any of the, let's say, top 10, anyone in the top 10 rankings, which blows my mind. Like, his name still gets thrown around for, like, title contention and shit like that. And then you see a statistic like that. So that fight got stopped by doctor stoppage, which, yeah, stoked to see that happen. Michael Johnson got a vicious knockout yesterday. That was insane. If you haven't seen that, go watch the highlights of that. But the big MMA news from this week, there's been a new organization announced. Now, is it going to ever beat the UFC? Probably not. Is it going to make it past 2 pay-per-views? I don't think it will. But the lineup that they've announced, like, let me get the interwebs up right now and rattle off a few of the fighters they've signed. This actually blew my mind a little bit. Now, if you've been watching UFC for a few years, a lot of these names will jump out to you. But what I don't understand is a lot of these people retired from the UFC because they were too old and they just couldn't do it anymore. So, yes, they're big names, but do I see any great fights coming out of this? No, but a couple of names, just to name a few. Tyron Woodley, ex-champion. Fabricio Verdum, ex-champion. Anthony Pettis, ex-champion. Junior Dos Santos, Hector Lombard, Luke Rockhold, Wanderlei Silva. Like, what the fuck? Alexander Gustafsson. Those are all ex-UFC champions. Thiago Santos, Andre Arlovsky, Kevin Lee, Frank Mir. What the fuck? Like, these are all huge names, and now they're signed there. Jeremy Stevens, Benson Henderson. Like, these are all old school UFC names, and now they're just over there. Greg Hardy, he had a bit of a stint in the UFC. But yeah, I don't know. There's fucking heaps more names up there, but they're the big ones that sort of stopped me and went, what the fuck is going on here? Now, the big thing, the reason they're getting so much traction is they want to implement something that no other fight organization's doing. They want to give all the fighters healthcare, which in the US, that's a pretty big thing. And they also want to do a share of profits, 50-50 with the fighters, which sounds good on paper, but is it going to be, like, is that going to happen? Like, I just want to see in the contract how exactly that's spelt out, because, like I said, I don't see it going past 2 pay-per-views. Like, I'd be surprised if they sold 10,000 pay-per-views for their first card. Now, you split that between however many fighters I just labeled off, you're going to come away with next to nothing, I would imagine. The only silver lining I could see is maybe they let the fighters go and get their own sponsors, which the UFC doesn't let their fighters do. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how that plays out. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, whether the GFL is going to be a what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Any good. Let's just go with that. Anyway, let's rip into our motivational clip for the week. It's a little bit of a long one, but I don't know. A couple of points in it sort of rung true to me, so let's hit play on it.
Chance of you making $1 million this year? Give me numbers, and everyone's like 0%, 0%, 0%, 1%. There's always 1%. It's like 5, and that's like the most it'll get to. And I said, okay, I'm gonna give you the most extreme example, but I just want to see what happens. Okay, what's the percentage chance of you making $1 million this year legally? And if you don't, everyone that you love dies. And everyone's like 100%, 100%, 1,000%. I said, what changed? The goal didn't change. The time frame didn't change. Why you're doing it changed. Would you wake up in the morning if everyone that you love's life depended on it and be like, yeah, well, maybe I should scroll on TikTok for a little while? No, you'd be like, I'm going to take action immediately. And so it doesn't need to be like a fear of losing everybody. But what's really behind that is like, why? Because if your why is strong enough, your how will reveal itself. If you know why you want to do something, how it's going to be done, you'll figure it out. It doesn't matter. Things are going to get in your way. There's always going to be moments of like, I don't know if I can do this. But if your why is so strong, it's like, I don't care what comes up in front of me. I'm going to get it done.
So yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool one. Hopefully you guys, a couple of little moments of that jumped out to you guys. And just that cool thing just to break it down from like money to time and things like that. So gigs for this week. So here's the big news. I'm done for 2024. I've got no other gigs booked for this year. I'm on call with a couple of promoters. If they've got dropouts, I'm on call to go to those gigs. But yeah, that's me for 2024. I basically plan on spending the last couple of weeks of it really knuckling down on this writing and trying to get this show fucking done, because I went and had a reread of what I was punching out early to mid this year, and I don't know, I guess I would like to think that my writing's improved a bit, because a lot of it I was reading, I'm like, that's fucking lame. You can word that so much better. And I guess it's always going to be a moving target, but I plan on spending the next couple of weeks and the first week or two of 2024 just really knuckling down and getting at least a first draft done that I can pick and choose from there. And then, yeah, running a trial show of it, possibly at the Distillery Road Theatre or something like that. So, yeah, if you guys want to come along and check out that, my first little attempt of an hour show, thinking maybe have it ready, thinking maybe like a birthday show, maybe for my birthday next year, which is in March, thinking have the first draft done by end of January, spend all of February just revising the fuck out of it and just taking out any shit that doesn't need to be in there. And then, yeah, a little bit of a trial show in March. So that's what I'm thinking we're going to work towards. Don't fucking hold me to it. But I think if I don't set myself a deadline, I'm not going to get it done. So I think another big thing with getting this hour done is all these stories and shit that I've got in there are all sort of like the stories I fall back on, like the home invasion, the truck, the fucking whatever else we've spoken about on the podcast, all these shitty moments and stuff. And I just feel like if I put together an hour of just almost releasing all this shit, like I feel like it's just going to be a weight off my shoulders. All that shit is out there now in the atmosphere. You can't fall back on it anymore. Everybody knows it. So time to start making some new stories, new jokes, all that sort of shit. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Sorry for that bit of a ramble there. Send some submissions like we've heard earlier today. Thanks again to Ty for sending that through. Roads We've Walked podcast. He's got some cracking guests on there lately. So go check that out. Send me submissions on Instagram at CantGetAnyWorsePodcast or via email at CantGetAnyWorsepod@gmail.com. And yeah, a couple of weeks left of 2024. If I don't talk to you before next week, I will see you later.
Can't get any worse, we'll make you see. There's always a silver lining. We'll set you free, so join the movement. Let's change the game.